Hey everyone, Airball here, and another standard video coming at you today. It's our first video in a while, and that's because we're getting ready for the DGen Open, which is coming up on the 18th. And this is my first choice right now of deck to play. This is Martin Yuza's Izzet Dragon's list from the Innistrad Set Championship. So the current state of standard is the same as it's been for a few months. You have your Izzet-based Epiphany decks, sometimes splashing black for removal or go blank. You have mono green, and you have mono white. And when you're going into a tournament, you don't have a whole lot of choices in terms of like creative deck building options. If it's not one of those three decks, it's unlikely to win the whole thing. So you just need to take a guess at which deck is going to be the most likely to deal with the field that you expect the most. And in the DGen Open, I'm expecting a lot of creature-based decks. For whatever reason, content creators, especially DGen content creators, like to play creature decks. Whereas in like a SCG Tour event, I would expect a whole lot more Epiphany-based combo decks and control mirrors. So I chose the Dragons list here because I like having a proactive plan that can end the game quickly and deal with the creature-based decks pretty well. And I think the Dragons deck does a better job about that than the pure control versions do. And the main reason for that is that we have 4 copies of Dragon's Fire and 4 copies of Smoldering Egg. So obviously 4 copies of Smoldering Egg and 0-4 with Defender that can clog up the board pretty well, block a bunch of mono-white creatures, and then once it eventually flips into Ashmouth Dragon, it can machine gun down their board. And we have a lot of spells, instant speed spells, cheap ones that can trigger that and clean up the board pretty effectively. 4 copies of Dragon's Fire is, if you have a dragon in play, just the most efficient removal spell in the format. So we have 4 copies of Goldspan Dragon, eventually 4 copies of a flipped Smoldering Egg. Both of those are 4 power creatures. Dragon's Fire will do 4 damage to anything on the board if you have a dragon in play or even in your hand. And that's pretty effective at dealing with just about any threat in the format. There's nothing that really has more than 4 toughness that we're worried about. Against mono white, our main tools are, other than the Smoldering Egg itself, we have Cinderclasm, which can do 2 damage across the board. We have 1 copy in the main, 2 copies in the sideboard, as you can see. We also get to board into another copy of Flame Blessed Bolt in those cases as well. And we have the full play set, 4 copies of Spikefield Hazard, which is a necessity to deal with the influx of Thalia that we're seeing from mono white. Fading Hope, obviously, just general purpose good against creature decks to get us to turn 5. It's card disadvantage, but if you can bounce the opponent's creatures in the early turns until you can get a Goldspan Dragon in play, then often once you have the Goldspan Dragon in play, what comes next doesn't really matter all that much. So we have a Goldspan Dragon in play, we've got an empty board, and then we attack with Goldspan Dragon on turn 5, get the treasure. Next turn we'll have 7 mana off of the treasure token to be able to cast Alrund's Epiphany, and the plan there is to just cast Alrund's Epiphany over and over and over again until they're dead. In terms of the control matchup, though, game 1 is not great. So the Smoldering Egg is not really a huge concern for the control matchups. They're already prepared for creatures. It dies to a lot that the Izzet decks are packing, especially if they're the Grixis versions that are running, things like not Power Word Kill, but Infernal Grasp, that kind of stuff. So we are running a bunch of removal spells that are going to be dead in the control mirror or in the Izzet mirror in game 1, which puts us at a disadvantage. To mitigate that, we do have 4 copies of Expressive Iteration, 4 copies of Divide by Zero, and 3 copies of Memory Deluge, which can try to get us the fuel that we need to get a quick Goldspan Dragon in game 1 and kill them. Post-board, against the control matchups, we do have 1 copy of Hullbreaker Horror, which is conspicuously not in the main deck because it's kind of not great on its own. Because by the time you're playing Hullbreaker Horror, often you don't have a whole lot of spells left in your hand to be able to play. It dies to Valorous Stance out of mono white. Mono green can often just go wide enough to get around it. By turn 7, honestly, by the time you've made it to turn 7, Hullbreaker Horror should not make or break the game. You should already have pretty good control over the board, or you're probably dead. 1 copy of Test of Talents for the control mirror. Disdainful Stroke can be good against mono green, but mostly against the control mirror as well to counter opponents' Alrund's Epiphanies, their own dragons, whatever other 4 mana spells that they plan on casting. And obviously we have the learn cards as well to fetch off Divide by Zero. We have Mascot Exhibition, Teachings of the Archaics and Environmental Sciences, all of which are pretty good in their own right. So it's the main casting crew that you're pretty used to seeing at this point. Let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. This deck does perform a lot better on the play than on the draw. Obviously, that's true of most decks in Standard, but especially when we have a proactive plan that we're trying to deal with. Getting Goldspan Dragon in play, being on the play is important. This hand is pretty poor. Opponent kept 7. It's like exclusively land, but if we're up against creatures, then we're probably supposed to keep this. I think I will, but I'm not going to love it. Obviously, if this is the control matchup, then keeping this hand is effectively conceding, because almost everything is dead. Tanking on turn 1 probably means deciding what land to play, which probably means we're up against Izzet, I would think. Nope, snow covered forest, go. Okay. So no 1-drop. I think I'm still going to hold the Spikefield Hazard in hand. There are one toughness creatures that this deck can play. We are kind of flush with land right now. We have the luxury of holding on to our spell lands a little while longer to protect us in case we flood. So we're probably expecting like Werewolf Pack Leader on 2. If they kept a hand without a 1-drop, then it's likely they kept a hand that has a pretty good 2-drop in it. Pack Leader, we will probably just be forced to Thundering Rebuke next turn. It dodges all of our other removal pretty effectively. So we'll get the Hall in play while it comes into play untapped, and I think we just have to kill this now. We do have to respect Snakeskin Veil, which is one of the biggest blowouts that this deck can face. And now we could have like Old Growth Troll coming, which would be pretty significant pain. We do need to find some of our big hitters. So we need to find Goldspan Dragon, Allrun's Epiphany, something like that. Sooner rather than later. Because it's, if opponent has a good curve, like Pack Leader into Old Growth Troll, into a Seeker's Chariot, then there's not a whole lot we can do. We can trade 1-for-1 removal with it, but eventually their value overwhelms us. Opponent is thinking, though. Is this the thinking of someone who's about to miss a land drop? We could use that. It's the thinking of someone who is disconnected. Okay. Well, that's not great. Definitely playing the Smoldering Egg here. The question is, are we holding up Spikefield Hazard or not? And I think the answer is we are, because I want to keep this as an option to eventually deal with an Old Growth Troll, because anything we hit with Spikefield Hazard will exile the troll, so it's going to be... we won't have to put the Old Growth Troll token on one of their lands. Obviously, we would rather not have to do that, but what are you going to do? Or it could just be that the opponent's not here. Did grind my way up to Diamond 4 before making this video. The problem is that when you're in Diamond 4, there's no consequence, right? People can just disappear on you. If they don't like the matchup, or if they just have to go to the bathroom, there's no consequence. So you do get this kind of stuff at the lower ranks of Diamond. It looks like the opponent's not even going to show up. Oh no, they're here. They have Faceless Haven. Okay. Faceless Haven and Xandu Mammoth. Sure. So I suspect that our Smoldering Egg is in some trouble. Likely they have a fight spell of some kind. That is a pretty good way to blow out a fight spell. And I think that that's what we're going to be aiming for. I want to hold the Shadow Skull Smashing. I think I want to hold the Hazard still. Yeah. Play this on blue. This allows Kick Cinderclasm plus Fading Hope, if that's what we decide we want to do. The alternative is next turn we can play on tap land and Smashing the Mammoth and kill it. Yeah, we're definitely not blocking here. So we have the option to bounce it now. They didn't activate the Faceless Haven and attack with it. I suspect this means that they have a Seeker's Chariot in hand, but they're going to play that post-combat no matter what. So I think the play here is Fading Hope the Mammoth, hope they play Chariot, allows us to kick Cinderclasm. That's what we're going to go for anyway. Taking 5 is a lot. Sure. Okay. That's, I think, a bit of a premature concession. So Martin Yuza did provide a sideboard guide for this. He says to take out 3 copies of Deluge, which makes a lot of sense. Take out 1 copy of Alrund's Epiphany, which makes some sense. It's a little slow. And in come the anti-mono green cards. So we have 1 copy of Burning Hands. We have Disdainful Stroke, which is good against the Seeker's Chariot we were scared of there. 1 more copy of Cinderclasm. And the Flame Blessed Bolt. Basically just making the deck a little leaner and meaner, able to deal with the early game a little more effectively. I like it. Okay. Decent opening hand. We're definitely keeping this. It's an open question about what land to play. If they play like Ascendant Pack Leader on 1, then that kind of makes the decision a lot easier. We'll just play Mountain and kill it. Okay, so with the draw of the Stormcarved Coast, I think I'm okay just keeping my spell lands in hand. They did not play a 1-drop. It means that Spikefield Hazard is unlikely to hit anything on turn 2. So I'm either playing with Spikefield Hazard tapped, I guess, because it's not likely to hit anything, or I'm playing Island to make sure I have Fading Hope available. I think I'm keeping Fading Hope to be able to bounce a Pack Leader. Yeah, they have a Pack Leader again, that's fine. We'll send that back. Stroke. So, like, our hand is kind of soft right now to a Seeker's Chariot. Okay. So hold up Jari Disruption. Hopefully we can disrupt a 3-drop here. That would be great. No, instead they just play the Pack Leader, which makes sense. So we have the option of Burning Handsing this. Which I think we do have to do, unfortunately. Like, we can't let this stick on the board. It's unlikely we'll draw another answer for it. I think we have to do this. Especially while they're tapped out of green, so they don't have Snakeskin Veil available. Okay, so that's an interesting draw. I think here I really do want to be able to counter a Chariot next turn, either with Disruption or Disdainful Stroke. And I want to make my way towards Alrund's Epiphany with some dispatch. So I think I'm just going to play this Spikefield Hazard tapped, hope that the counter spells can do something this turn. It's more likely, they played around Jwari Disruption last turn. They may do it again this turn. If they look, they were hovering the Lair of the Hydra. If they activate that and attack with it, then we're thrilled. Yeah, another Pack Leader. It's irritating. Entangled Florahedron. So I think that one we're happy enough to kill with Spikefield Hazard. There's some chance that we will get to use the Jwari Disruption at some point in the future. Stormcarved Coast is reasonable, and we're just going to try to get to Epiphany and stabilize. Looks like they might try to play around Jwari Disruption again. No, they don't. They attack with Faceless Haven, so they're going to draw their card off the Pack Leader here, which sucks, but nothing we could have really realistically done about that. Taking 7. And now we have a choice about what land to play next turn. Oof. Okay, well, now we don't. That cannot be allowed to resolve. Divide by 0 is good, I think. So this is game 2. We do have to respect Snakeskin Veil somewhat. I think we just do this on our turn. And grab... We can grab Teachings. But Environmental Sciences gets us to Epiphany. How likely are they to be able to dump their hand next turn? They're going to have... If they play Land, Pack Leader, any card, then... Yeah, I'm not convinced that we're going to get to use Teachings this game, so I'm just going to grab the Sciences. It does suck that it reveals... Like, not playing Sciences is, like, super suspicious here. Interesting. I wonder what was holding priority there. Jasper Sentinel, sure. Okay, that's excellent, right? So they can swing at us for 5 next turn. I think we're just getting the Goldspan Dragon in play. Obviously, the Sentinel does have reach, so that gets in the way of some of our like lethal plans. But I just want the mana. If they kill the Goldspan Dragon, then we won't be able to Epiphany next turn more effectively than if we cast this now. So I'm just going to get this out of the way and gain the life. They know our hand anyway. And we're just going to hope that the Epiphany can get us there with the dragon in the air. Openwalled Oddity is scary. Attack with the Sentinel, though. So they're not going to be able to block the dragon on the crackback. So the question now, okay, they're tapped out. So the question now is, can we just kill them? And I think the answer now is just yes. So we attack with the dragon. How much mana do we have? We have 8. So if we do this, we get to keep the treasure around. If we cast the one from hand, we don't. So we'll cast this one. And we get to attack again. And Alrund's Epiphany is going to be lethal. That was pretty convincing. Opponent did make it somewhat easy on us there by tapping out. And obviously game 1 wasn't much of a game at all. Missing their land drop on turn 2, or on turn 3, was not great for them either. But yeah, 1-0 so far. On the play. Hand is interesting. We're up against some opponent with Cryptic Command Sleeves, so this could be the control mirror. Fading Hope and Cinderplasm, obviously not great if that's what we're up against. If we draw 1 land, then we have Divide by 0 unlocked, and we can try to go from there. I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think I will just play the Jwari Disruption tapped on turn 1. There's some hope that the Stormcarved Coast can come into play on tap later. It's a shame. I would like to be able to disrupt like a... Ooh, Field of Ruin on turn 1. What does that mean? So that's... No one would play Field of Ruin on 1 unless, you know, they were short on land somehow, right? We did draw the untapped land eventually. Am I scared of anything on turn 3? I don't think so. Yeah, and there's no Expressive Iteration threat next turn because they don't have red mana in play. Let's just get the Lava Glide pathway, and then we'll foretell the Epiphany. Keep it out of danger in case like this is Dimir controlled or something, and we want to dodge a hand hate spell. Well, it just says nice. Is that the nice of someone who's missed a land drop? No, it's the nice of an Izzet player with Field of Ruin available. Sure. Okay. I think we're more than happy to just play pathway. Say go. Thirst for Discovery. Game 1, I don't think we counter the card draw spell. Well, the way of thinking about that is that after sideboarding, the cards in their deck are more likely to be useful against us, and the filtering is more valuable. Um, but game one, I don't think you're supposed to counter that. I think you're supposed to counter like the actual spells that they find. It's likely they'll just say go here. Maybe not. Celestis with careful taps. So I think what I like here is divide by 0 with the intention of looting away the Cinderclasm to try to hit our land drop. Because if we draw untapped lands, then we get to play Goldspan Dragon next turn with significant advantage. Could also grab Teachings. Teachings is like guaranteed to draw some cards, but I think we're so unfavored in the matchup that I just want to get the game over as quickly as possible, and that means pitching away the Cinderclasm. That could be wrong, but I really, really want to hit my land drop. And we might miss it anyway. No, we don't. Have a dragon. Okay. So if they don't have an answer for the dragon, then this is great. Even if they do, we can fading. Oh, and now they're tapped out. Okay, excellent. Okay. So this is like, the obvious play. How much mana do we have? We have 6-10. So we just Epiphany and have the ability to Deluge again later. Yeah. If we can find one more Epiphany, then we win. Smoldering Egg. So if we cast Deluge, we will have 2, 4, 6, 12 mana. So if we find an Epiphany off the Deluge, we just win. There are 2 more left in the deck. Yeah, let's do that. No, we don't. We find Iteration and Disruption. I think I just like taking Iteration and the Hall, getting the Hall in play. Because now they need to deal with the board and have a way to deal with the Hall of Storm Giants. So if we play the Smoldering Egg here, it plays into a sweeper and takes away the option for us to play Deluge end of turn. We've played our land. I don't really want to play Iteration here. All right, let's just play the Smoldering Egg here. We have the Fading Hope to protect it if that's what we decide we need to do. It's not very good otherwise. And if their play here is just to cast Alrund's Epiphany, then we want to have a bunch of stuff in play to be able to get through their birds. Yeah, so that was the play. Now if they sweep the board, obviously they're killing their own birds, and we'll be able to kill them with the Hall. Best of Iteration is whatever. Although that Epiphany was from hand, they still have this Foretold card. So they could double Epiphany us here. They exile Behold the Multiverse and say oops. They have another Epiphany. Sure. A little scary. Unexpected windfall. Okay. Okay. All right. So opponent has 6 mana available. Almost certainly one of those things is divide by 0. I think I like casting Memory Deluge here, because it instantly flips the Smoldering Egg. I want to force the divide by 0 out of them. That's fine. Grabs Teachings, sure. And now I think we just want mana. Another Goldspan Dragon's tempting. So what happens if we take the Goldspan Dragon? We play one from hand. Bounce one of their birds, swing. They block both dragons and a bird. They take 5. We get 2 more treasures. Yeah, I think we have enough dragons. Okay. They have another divide by 0? That would suck. If these are both, if they have 2. Okay. So I want my treasure. And I don't think I want to Fading Hope away these birds. There's some chance that they'll quadruple block a dragon and we can blow them out with a Fading Hope. That's interesting. Block with 2 birds each. Okay. So representing like Burning Hands, Flame Blessed, Bolt, something like that. Some 2 damage spell. And now they gotta deal with the board again. Cinderclasm. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So we managed to save our dragon. They are still in some trouble. They're hanging tough. Again, we need to close this before they can hit their main combo of Galvanic Iteration and Epiphany, although they have cast 2 Epiphanies already. And most of their interaction is not like kill spells. Like, if they just keep bouncing the dragon to our hand over and over again, that's not great for them, especially now that we can recast it twice in the same turn. Oh, they always have another, don't they? Okay, that's annoying. Divide by 0 the Smoldering Egg. Okay. So I guess the intention here is to try to make Teachings draw a few more cards. Yep, so this will draw 2 cards. We don't have a way to get down to 2 cards in hand, effectively, so they're going to get their cards. Okay, iteration, sure. It's tough to break through. It's a lot of birds. They've drawn fairly well. Okay, so we do have the option here of Goldspan Dragon plus Dragon's Fire plus Dragon's Fire, which would be lethal. if they have nothing. But again, they have 3 mana available, so it seems unlikely they have nothing. Can power up the hall. They chump with a bird. That's not great. We don't get to do much else with our turn. I think it's Goldspan Dragon first. See what they do. Crack the Field of Ruin on the hall. Okay. So I think I want more blue. So what do we have here? Like, what for 1 mana, what can we do? They could have exactly Fading Hope. If they have Fading Hope, then we need 5 mana available to replay the dragon, which we should have by cracking the treasures in response. Yeah, so it's probably Fading Hope, right? Do we have to go for it anyway? I think so. So the sequencing was wrong if they have Fading Hope here, because I could have had 2 more counters on the Smoldering Egg. Yeah, so this was the only thing that really made sense. But now we're going to cast Iteration because we haven't made our land drop yet for the turn. Okay. Have they found the 4th Epiphany? Or are they just going to cast a ton of mascot exhibitions? Okay, that seems to be the plan. So that's 3 flyers we're going to have to fight our way through. I think we may be able to do it. Okay, Divide by 0 does not hit the tokens, unfortunately. But I think we have them. Yeah, definitely have them now. So Spikefield Hazard kills one of the 1/1s. We can go upstairs with this. Yeah, got him. Yeah, I definitely don't feel like I played that game 1 super well, but at the same time, I think the opponent did manage to draw well enough to stay in the game. Anyway, we have another sideboard guide here from Martin Yuza. Most of it's pretty intuitive. Out come the Fading Hopes, out come the Dragon's Fires, out come the Cinderplasm, basically all the dead cards from that we have in here for the creature matchup. Take away an Allrun's Epiphany. In come the 3 Hermits. Obviously the Negate, the Test of Talents, Disdainful Stroke, and the 2 Horrors. Replacing the Epiphanies, which makes some sense. Uncounterable. Am I missing something? Oh, I didn't actually bring in the Disdainful Stroke. What am I? Did I take out too many cards? I guess 1 Dragon's Fire stays in according to this board plan. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I don't like that. I'm going to take out the Dragon's Fire and I'm going to keep in the extra Epiphany then. I guess there's some chance they have their own Goldspan Dragon, but I don't think so. This deck looked pretty all in on Epiphany Iteration, and I don't think they play many Goldspan Dragons. They may play 1 in the sideboard. I think I'd rather just have the extra Epiphany to be able to cast. Okay. Hand's fine. We didn't see any black mana out of them other than like the treasure tokens, so I'm not worried about the Hullbreaker Horror being discarded from, even though we drew it early. I think we keep this, and we're going to try to disrupt whatever play they make. Like, ideally, they play blue red land. We disrupt their iteration and get to cast our own. Nope, no such luck. I don't want to cast my own expressive iteration into their disruption spell, so I think I'm down to just play a tap land. Right. Right. I don't want to foretell the Epiphany. I do think there's some chance that we'll be able to disrupt something useful. If we tap out, then that gives them carte blanche to play their Unexpected Windfall. Drew Divide by 0. Turn too late. I would have liked to hold that up last turn. I think I'm fine for telling the Epiphany here. Okay. So we can't realistically jam the dragon here, right? There's just no way. Like, we can't cast it into a Divide by 0. We have to play it a little safer than that. Okay. I guess the time has come to cast Expressive Iteration. The problem is we are on a bit of a clock, right? Like, eventually they're going to gather enough iterations and epiphanies in their hand to overwhelm our counter magic on any one turn. I think... Pretty sure we want the Hermit. I guess we'll take the coast. We'll see what they do. We do need to at least force some action, like I was saying. If they kill it with anything that doesn't exile it, then we can make our counter spells better. If they're copying Galvanic Iteration here, or if they're copying Windfall here, what do we do? I think this is a pretty good exchange for us. It does mean we tap out effectively, but denying them 2 cards and 2 treasures is pretty important, I think. Obviously, it sucks if they have another iteration and an Epiphany. It would have to be iteration from hand. Just the Celestis, okay. But obviously, they threaten to cast iteration Epiphany next turn. And we do not have the mana to effectively deal with that, I don't think. Definitely want to attack. I don't think I want to cast the Goldspan Dragon here into a Divide by 0. Maybe I'm supposed to, but like if we attack into Divide by 0, then we're tapped so low that we can't really defend ourselves. But we're missing land drops too. Like maybe I'm supposed to play the Goldspan Dragon pre-combat there. If we let them untap, do we ever realistically win? They get to attack us for 2, then 4 plus 7, so 11, 13. I think we just go for this, and if they have interaction, they have interaction. Maybe that's too impatient. Oof. Yeah, in retrospect. Yeah, I think that was a little too impatient, because now obviously, like, this is face up. If we had held off, then we would have been able to divide by 0 plus use the Malevolent Hermit. Yeah, that play made it a lot harder on us. That was a pretty big mistake, I think. They have their own Smoldering Egg. Interesting. Holy crap. Just going off. So they attack for 4, then 4 again next turn, possibly another 4. So we're probably taking 12 minimum. And the problem, of course, is that the Smoldering Egg will finish us off from there. Yeah, so this will flip the egg. Yeah, we're just super dead. I'm going to scoop this up. That sucks. I think maybe there's some resistance there if we don't cast the Epiphany and we hold up Divide by 0 plus Hermit. But given how their hand played out, I mean... Yeah, so I think given the... given that they showed us Smoldering Egg, I think I do like bringing in the 1 Dragon's Fire again and taking out the Epiphany. Okay. I think we keep this. I think I'm down to play the Smashing Tapped on turn 1. Our life total does matter somewhat in this matchup. Smoldering Egg. Okay. That's a pretty good draw, honestly. So my Spidey sense is telling me that there's Rory Disruption here. They did not play a red land, so we don't have to worry about tapping low too much. I don't want to play the iteration into Rory Disruption, obviously. Now we can play it. And if they have Divide by 0, then that's not so bad. Kill spell for the Smoldering Egg. Divide by 0 for the Smoldering Egg. Interesting. Okay. Sure. I'll take a Disdainful Stroke. The cards they have in hand, they'll have 7. So we can either take the land and do nothing with our turn, or we can play the land from hand and play the Smoldering Egg. I think hitting land drops is like way too important, though. I do like bottoming lands, but I think here I'm going to take this and play it. Next turn, I'll play the Smoldering Egg from hand, hold up Disdainful Stroke. We can just jam Goldspan Dragon here if that's what we decide we want to do. No, I think we're playing Smoldering Egg here. We do have some incentive to empty our hand because opponent has Teachings. Bounce it again. No, they say go. Or they untap, rather. Well, one Hermit's a pretty good draw. I think I like that. Have Memory Deluge available for their end of turn. Let's say go here. Obviously, we drew the one of Dragon's Fire earlier in the game, so it's not as good as it looks. That's frustrating. I think we do this. I want it in the bin. I don't want it to get exiled. It does mean that we can't cast Memory Deluge end of their turn. But maybe they'll give us something to stroke anyway. They had the Torii Disruption anyway. Okay. Yeah, happy to kill that with our Dragon's Fire. Put some counters on the egg. Hopefully we draw on tap land. That would be nice. We could play the Hermit and hold up Deluge. Would have tanked a while there. Okay, we did not draw untapped land. Hermit does say that only non-creature spells you control can't be countered, so playing it doesn't actually protect the Goldspan Dragon. If we play the Goldspan Dragon and it gets divided by 0, how do we feel about that? Pretty bad, honestly. I'm gonna play the Geist. And if this gets countered, it gets countered. Like, if they bounce this to hand, then we can just play it again, hold up blue mana. It's not the end of the world. They already invested a bunch of cards trying to kill it. Honestly, do we foretell the Epiphany here? No. I don't think so. Okay, so this does get divided by 0. Okay. That happens. And you're go. They fetch Environmental Sciences. Okay. So we're in it for the long haul here. They foretell their Epiphany. We draw, divide by 0. So missing land drops does kind of suck. They've been conspicuously leaving open 3 mana all game. Like, one of these cards is certainly divide by 0. Which is frustrating, because we're just not drawing the lands to play through it. So I guess we're just playing the Hermit again. Holding up Deluge. Thirst for Discovery. So they could be setting us up for, like, if they put... next turn, how much mana do they have? They have 8, so they could Iteration plus Epiphany. I think this has to resolve. So we have divide by 0 plus Hermit activation available. Smoldering Egg. Okay. They have their own Malevolent Hermit. Okay. So here I think I'm happy to cast Deluge in response. And if they do anything here, they have to tap low, and we can hopefully get the Goldspan Dragon in play and start firing off Epiphanies. Okay, Torii Disruption. Smashing not bad either. So we play dragon. We have... This is tricky. Okay. And now I think we just say go. And we do have them, I think, a little bit behind the 8-ball here, because whatever they play, we can divide by 0, plus hold up Malevolent Hermit activation to fight over their Malevolent Hermit. Okay. Okay. So now this resolves. This resolves. We counter this one with the Hermit. And we divide this Alrund's Epiphany by 0, which will flip our egg. I think we just want environmental sciences here. Okay. So we can win the game. Yeah, so we were going to cast environmental sciences, ping the dragon down to 2, then cast... Actually, we didn't quite have enough mana to do that, did we? Yeah, that would have been a little tricky. I mean, we weren't completely winning there. We would have had to, like, cast Epiphany, ping down the Hermit, and attack with the Ashmouth Dragon. Try to trade that off and then get in again. I don't think that was completely over, but opponent didn't want to play anymore. Okay. Good game. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what the deck's trying to do, right? Stay alive the first couple turns, land a dragon, hope it's good enough. Opponent mulligans, but they are on the play. Mono black. Okay, so the plan was going to be to play Hall of Storm Giants and keep up Fading Hope. I think we just don't allow them, especially after they mulligan, to be able to Village Rights this, or Deadly Dispute it on turn 2. So we just kill this on our turn. And now they've got nothing, so this is great. We have Jwari Disruption available. They do have Faceless Haven, which is irritating. I still think that there's a world where the Jwari Disruption ends up being useful, especially if they like play land Sorin here. Yeah, we are more than happy to just Fading Hope this Faceless Haven. Keep the pressure off. Divide by 0 seems excellent too. And I think the plan here is just play Jwari Disruption tapped, divide whatever they do, and attack with Goldspan Dragon. Okay, so here, if we play the Goldspan Dragon and it dies to, like, Soul Shatter or something, and they untap and play Sorin, that's the worst case, right? We have Thundering Rebuke in that case for the following turn. I think I would rather have the Smoldering Egg die. Yeah, I think I just want to get this in play. Play a little slower. Like, eventually we'll draw our Alrund's Epiphanies, and... Okay, they had no kill spell there, or they could have, like, Power Word Kill, which is very, very bad against us. Yeah, now that they've tapped low to attack with the Faceless Haven, I think I'm fine casting Fading Hope here, because it means the Goldspan Dragon will resolve and not die. And if we draw untapped land... Okay. That's fine, right? Like, if we permanently answer that Faceless Haven, then we're pretty happy. I did not draw the land, which is unfortunate. We can go digging. Next turn, it seems likely, especially if they were, like, trying to hit the treasure. It seems likely that there's some kind of planeswalker coming for us next turn, right? Um, if they do nothing next turn, then we're happy just dividing by 0. I think we can go a little slow here and miss our land drop. It sucks, but I think being patient is right. If they have, like, go blank, then we feel terrible. Yeah, there's Lolth. So we'll divide her. Teachings actually seems excellent. It'll flip the egg for us. Get the eye switch in play, sure. So we can teachings here and hope to hit untapped land to hold up divide by 0. The alternative is playing the Goldspan Dragon, but that's a pretty all-in play when we still aren't drawing our untapped land. I think this is the way to go. Do this while we know we will draw cards. Great. Okay. And yeah, just start getting in. If they play Lolth, we'll divide it, go upstairs, start attacking face. It's going to be pretty tough for them to deal with this board. Blood on the Snow is a concern. So, like, maybe we don't want to invest too heavily by playing our Goldspan Dragon here. Meat Hook Massacre, X equals 4. So we can bounce the Massacre back to hand. That'll do 6. We can swing with the Goldspan Dragon for another 4. They'll be at 10. This is tough. I think we're supposed to just divide this to hand, but not play the Goldspan Dragon. Mascot Exhibition, not great when I know they have a hand, like, completely full of sweepers, so let's just take Sciences. Try to get as much damage out of this dragon as we can, force him to wrath the board, and then hope to finish him off with the Goldspan Dragon. That seems good to me. Can also power up the hall here and attack if that's what we decide we want to do. Nah. Upstairs. So we'll get an extra ping off the Deluge. Yeah. Seems fine. Okay. We'll do this now. No reason to wait. Go upstairs again. And that's going to do it, right? We'll play the Goldspan Dragon. Attack, we'll have 3-5. It won't be enough, actually, for Alrund's Epiphany. Nevertheless, I think these choices are clear. Definitely swinging with the Goldspan Dragon. And we have 5 mana available. Made our land drop for the turn. Not interested really in casting Iteration. Let's just get the Alrund's Epiphany safe where it can't be discarded. Say go. Another Meat Hook Massacre. Okay. So I'll kill the dragon. They gain 1, go to 8. But now I'm pretty sure we have sufficient mana. Okay, well, let's just do some math. We have 9, 11 mana. We can play 2 dragons, have 1, 3 left over. Yeah, this is just excellent, right? No, not quite. We actually don't quite have enough red to make that work. Do this. We have 1 mana remaining. Attack twice. It's not enough. Okay. Oh, well, it would have been enough, but this is fine too. We can Epiphany and then Dragon and kill them next turn. A lot of ways to skin this cat. Yeah. And they didn't know they were dead, but they knew they were dead. Okay, so against mono black, what do we do? Out come the 4 Dragon's Fires. So, again, says Martin Yuza. This is just who I'm trusting more or less blindly. Out comes the Fading Hope, which makes some sense. It's not great against the Deadly Disputes. Cinderclasm can come out, and in come 3 Malevolent Hermits, which I guess makes some sense. Decent protection against Wraths. Same with Disdainful Stroke, same with Negate. No Test of Talents comes in, which is interesting. And in comes 2 Hullbreaker Horrors, which is interesting, right? Because you would think that they're going to have the removal spells to deal with Hullbreaker Horror fairly effectively. But maybe we just need more threats. A lot of their removal, I guess, is sorcery speed, so being able to flash in a big threat end of turn that they won't be able to remove until the following one is probably fine. Hand's okay. You don't have untapped red on turn 1 to be able to cast Spikefield Hazard, which is a little sad. But we're definitely keeping this. We'll see what we draw turn 1. Hopefully it's like Mountain. No such luck. So Hazard gets a lot worse once they're able to untap with Village Rites, or with Deadly Dispute available. Alright. Playing Storm-Carved Coast here, so we have the red mana available next turn if that's what we decide we want to do. If they play if they just say go here, they don't even give us the chance. Okay, so they just sack the Eye Twitch before we have a chance to counter it or do anything. Makes some sense. And Duress, okay. What do you take? I mean, like, 3 copies of Expressive Iteration. It's probably one of the lands, I would think. No, okay. Are they gonna do anything on 3 that we badly want to disrupt? I guess if they, like, need this Environmental Sciences to hit their land, but I don't think there's any world where I'm doing that. So I just want to get this Epiphany Foretold, where they can't do anything nasty to it. If they play, like, Go Blank, then that hurts. Maybe I'm supposed to play around that, but, like, if we're, like, casting Epiphanies, then I think we're pretty happy. Hunt for Specimens, sure. Fetching. Pass Summoning. Okay. Yeah. Expressive Iteration seems good. I will take a Divide by 0. Now, which land do I want? I think we're a long way off from ever activating the Hall, and if we reach that point, then we're going to be casting Epiphanies anyway. So I'm going to take the Stormcarved Coast and have the ability to cast the Spikefield Hazard this turn, if that's what I decide I want to do. They don't power up the Faceless Haven and attack. We're more than happy to take 1 here. This is okay. And pass Summoning. Sure. I don't think I want to cast this Spikefield Hazard yet. So we can just play tap land, hold up Divide by Zero. Then they power up Faceless Haven, we take 7, that's not great. I think we just want to keep casting iterations. Fading Hope's quite good. Memory Deluge, I don't think, like with 2 more iterations in hand, I don't think we need the Deluge. Yeah, I'm going to take the Fading Hope to hand and just play the land and just get to Epiphany as quickly as I can. And this will let us Fading Hope and Spike Field Hazard if that's what we decide we want to do. Yeah, so activating Faceless Haven is what makes the most sense here. We're going to Fading Hope it and hope they don't have Deadly Dispute. But if they do, we want to make them tap the Faceless Haven before they get to declare attacks with it. We are definitely taking the dragon. I'll take 3 here all day. Nice. So we don't have Divide by Zero available, but we do have Jwari Disruption, and if they do anything that specifically targets the dragon, then we will have Divide by Zero available. In fact, we can Spike Field Hazard the dragon to create a treasure, which will create enough mana for Divide by Zero if that's what we decide we want to do, which isn't bad either. Hopefully they just play like Lolth here and we get to disrupt it. They play Go Blank. Yeah, I mean, I guess that happens. And we pitch Hazard and one of the iterations. Yeah. And hopefully they don't have like Duress. Sciences. Yeah, we're not disrupting that. That's fine. Okay, so we, at minimum, have Goldspan Dragon into Epiphany this turn if that's what we decide we want. How much mana do we have? 5, 7. So we can do this, attack, and still have Epiphany available. So I guess this is where we start. Wow. Holy shit. So we'll have 5, 7. We'll be able to cast the Epiphany and then play the following turn play another dragon, attack for a boatload. Yeah, okay, so the Goldspan Dragon goes to hand. Hullbreaker Horror goes away, and we're going to cast this Epiphany. Right? Right. Actually, can we do this? We tap 5. No. This is fine. This is more than good enough to win. This will let us create 6 mana, which will be enough to cast the Epiphany again, and we just win. Feels pretty good. I mean, honestly, this has got to be like our stone best matchup. They just have no way of interacting with us when we start to do this stuff, and we just go way over the top. Yeah, I mean, so that's 3-0 with Izzet Dragons, despite, not playing super well in Game 2 in the mirror. Deck is pretty gas. I really, really like having the proactive play available to me in Dragon. I feel like that's because Goldspan Dragon is just harder to make mistakes with. Like, you just sort of jam it and go. I think that it's probably not the best choice in like an open tournament with like a serious tournament with a solid normal meta that like we've seen in standard, because the Izzet matchup is so good and the creature matchup is not actually all that great, or the Izzet matchup is so bad and the creature matchup isn't actually all that great. So it probably makes more sense to either play creature decks yourself or hold up or just like tune your deck to the mirror and accept that you're going to lose to creatures in game 1 and try to get there in games 2 and 3. Which means no Goldspan Dragon. It means bringing in the Hullbreaker Horrors, maybe the Galvanic iterations, in fact, probably the Galvanic iterations, and just hope that you get there. But yeah, overall, deck's a lot of fun. I think it is it's my front runner to play in the DGen Open. Hopefully we can just take that one down. I'd love to win that one. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.